Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Retake League of Legends Edition, brought to you by EGF Media. Tonight we'll be taking a look at the LCS, discussing some cool picks, talking about things that let us down this week, making some predictions about the coming week, and talking about the format changes to the NA and EU LCS. Hello everyone, my name is Alex Shinkari Erdenberger here, joined with Owen Airship Bishop Kruger. Owen, say hello. And
hello.
Joe Sismok Frazier, who's going to be Mario Boot for today. Say hi, Joe.
I was lost in the war.
So, for our first little segment here, we're going to move on to the news. So, we do have a few roster changes, as well as a little bit of some issues with some other stuff going into the news this week. So, first up, we have Kikis from G2 is going to be stepping down from the top lane and is going to be replaced by Expect for Week 3 and onwards for the G2 roster. And then, this is a little bit of old news, but OG's AD carry Forgiven is going to be taking an indefinite break from League of Legends due to lack of motivation. The LCS has moved to patch 6.11 over the past weekend. So that saw some changes to Echo, Rise, Maokai, Kindred, Jax, Alawi, and Azir. All those characters were still picked in the league this weekend. So, you know, some were nerfed, some were buffed, but still saw play. So maybe we might need some more changes for those super good ones. News item number 4 is going to be Apex's jungler Eve has been suspended for 10 months due to a competitive ruling due to an illegal use of a scripting program in the Korean server. This should impact Apex a little bit, and you know they've had a pretty good week. You know, had these past couple of weeks, so this should be maybe a huge impact, maybe not. But you know, we're going to go right into our second segment, and we're going to talk about our series of the week. We saw some great matches this week, like a very, very back and forth series from Phoenix 1 and Cloud9. I very liked that match. And NA, and a very dominating performance by the new H2K over in Europe. I also like that as well. So now we'll go over to our guests and see what their top picks. We're going to start over in North America, and we're going to go over to Owen. Owen, tell us about your top pick for NA this week.
I really liked Cloud9's series against CLG, and they had a 2-0 week in general. And what I really liked about the series against CLG was Cloud9's versatility, running Bunny Fufu in game 1 and then Smoothie in the second game. They're able to pick up games with both supports and wins, especially against CLG. Even though they're not looking that great, they did come in second place at MSI. And we didn't really see too much of how the Cloud9 roster was going to, play out with all of the changes that they've had. Meteos played a very strong Rek'Sai and Gragas both games, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this lineup matches up against some stronger teams in the coming weeks. Most notably, they're set against TSM on Friday night.
Right. I did like the Cloud9 games this week. They were both really good. So we're going to move over to Joe. Joe, what did you think for NA this week?
In my opinion, the best NA series was TSM versus Immortals, and I think that was easily anticipated looking at both teams before. Both Double Lift and Bjergsen had two very good carry performances. Bjergsen's Vladimir just completely took over game 1, and Double Lift kept TSM in the game in game 3, which was a bit of a mess, but it was still pretty good. But game 1 and game 2 were both two games where both teams got early advantages and just snowballed the entire game. And seeing two teams do that against high-level competition, it looks good for NA, in my opinion. So the other thing is TSM's new support, Biofrost, the rookie, has been playing out of his mind past 2 weeks. Just incredible.
Yeah. He did look really good. I'm still not super convinced about Immortals. Like, they had a very good season in the spring, but I feel like a lot of their strategies are going to be kind of thrown out the window because they're not best of ones anymore. They can't just overpower their opponents in one game and just say, "Haha, we win," and then move on to the next game. You know, their opponents are going to be able to adapt to that playstyle over the course of multiple games. So we're going to move over to EU now. Owen, what is your opinion from your favorite game from EU?
I liked SO4's series against Origin, mostly game 1, which was an incredible stomp. I think it was like 16-2, which is insane. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep that up for game 2, and they ended up losing. But I think it was a really interesting result because they're kind of new on the block, and they're kind of just like they've been floating around in the mid tier of the pack. And then they just, oh yeah, we just 16-2'd Origin. Like, it shows that they have a lot of potential and that they can win these games extremely hard. I don't really know why they can only do it once, but, I mean, at least it looks good for them going into the coming weeks to have a performance like that. If they can roll that momentum into some more wins, it'd be nice.
Right, there's that P word again. We throw that P word around a lot in LCS. So we're gonna go. Yeah, we're gonna go over to Joe now. Joe, what was your favorite game from the EU?
So this was probably one of the weaker weeks that was terrible English. That EU had this split. There was nothing overly impressive. It's there was some growth for teams like H2K and G2, but in the most part it was pretty bad, at least for overall level. So I chose OG versus Vitality because it was just two bloodbaths. It was very entertaining. Got to see some really, really bad plays. XPeke flashing next to an Olaf is my favorite.
We've all done that.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. Oops.
And I'm worried about both these teams because both teams are stacked with talent. If you just look at them, like Power Evil, Soaz, Cabochard, Kasing, and it's just seeing two teams play like that, something's not right.
Yeah. I think we should just let XPeke retire finally. I feel like we haven't had like a series yet where XPeke just hasn't played. Like we saw him come in, like I think it was finals last split, and now he's coming in to fill in for AD carry. Like, just let this guy, come on, like just let him retire already. He's just like 2 years ago, he was just like, all right, I'm done. This is it. Like, and then oops, we need XPeke. We need you again. Can you come back, please?
Pull the C9 and just put them in the Challenger Series retirement home.
Yes.
LCS slot farm and make a couple mil and then send them off.
Yeah.
I thought the original plan was that when they moved to the best of series, that Peke and Power of Evil were going to swap off. That's what I heard, at least.
Okay.
I think XPeke's still got a lot in him. I mean, whether or not he'll be able to tap into that, he definitely has experience on his side, especially since we're now in a best of 2 format. You need to be more consistent, so maybe they're just afraid to switch him off. Like, right. He's not doing terrible and he's not doing great, but maybe the org isn't willing to risk, throwing in some new, like, you don't know what's going to happen when you throw a new player in, right. And it's difficult to like switch scrim time with people. Like if you're splitting your scrim time, unless you're really dedicated with your support staff to keeping both players, completely focused. We saw what happened with Kikis when his team brought in a new player. Even though it didn't directly impact his performance, like having this looming like I could lose my job thing over your back really hampers certain players. Yep. Other people perform well with it. We saw SKT. They've been running 2 mid laners for like forever now. But in that situation, it's very clear that they're not going to replace Faker.
Right.
So it does let a lot of pressure off of your primary player in that role.
Well, SKT only has 1 mid laner right now. They only have Faker.
Oh, did they switch that back?
Yeah.
They had Scout for a while.
Easy Hoon's in China, and then Scout, the Faker Jr., who played like 1 game last split, did horribly, then was dropped.
Okay. I haven't been keeping up with LCK.
All right. So we are
really good.
We're going to move on to our third segment here. This is a new segment. This is one I introduced. It's called Spicy Meatballs, and this is a segment I like to throw in just because sometimes there are really sweet picks that maybe happen one game or maybe just over like one series and then maybe never picked again, or a meta is shifted in order to allow for this kind of pick to happen. So here we get to talk about our like off meta or strange or like this new pick that we really like or really didn't like over the past week. For me, it was, Freeze picking up his Draven. Although he's known for it and like is like arguably his best champion, we don't see like a lot of people playing Draven now, and I really like to see that. So Owen, why don't you go ahead and tell us about what your favorite pick from this week was?
Well, Lucian got nerfed, so obviously if you're OHQ, you're gonna pick Twitch and sneak rat all over the place. He gets insanely fed. He's like 12, 3, and 9. I think he built like Sterix Gauge and a Runon and just annihilated people. It was insane to see the amount of damage this guy could put out after having an incredibly strong early game in the laning phase. And Twitch isn't really someone that we've seen in ages. I mean, he got picked up a little bit in Korea a couple months ago, but it wasn't ever like a super meta thing. And unfortunately, they went on to lose the series against Immortals, which is sad. But it was still a really, really great game of just one player completely destroying an entire enemy team. Obviously, he had help, but he was just putting out crazy damage, insane records against a really strong team. I look really forward to seeing this guy cleaning up games in the future if he can keep channeling that inner Twitch insanity.
Right. So we're going to move over to Joe. Joe, what was your favorite pick from this week?
My favorite, or I suppose you could say least favorite pick, was Fnatic picking Kha'Zix all 4 games for Spirit.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand. I must be missing something. So the only other, like, there were so many other things up. They banned Elise one game, but Elise was up. Kindred was up, I think, 2 or 3 games, even though Kindred got nerfed. So the only thing that was banned or picked away consistently was Nidalee. So is Spirit really just gonna pick Kha'Zix and Nidalee? Is that his champ pool? Like, I don't know. Something's not right there.
Bigger than my champ pool.
I mean, you could make an argument for Kha'Zix because, like, he can 1v1 brawl people in the jungle pretty well. Like, that's his whole shtick, right? But, you know, like, a lot of casters were talking about, like, you know, he's not very good until after he gets, like, one evolve. Like, and usually it's the claws first, which makes ganking a lot harder. You know, he doesn't get the improved leap and stuff like that. And he also doesn't have that level 2, level 3 kind of deal where you can jump in and CC, like, you know, like a Kindred can with her slows, with a lot of other free damage that she gets, and as well as like an Elise who has the longest range stun on a basic ability in the game. So, you know.
Go bug or go home.
Yeah, go bug or go home.
I don't think that picking a jungler that relies on snowballing is... You need some amount of early game pressure because you can't risk the enemy team picking up a Inferno Drake just immediately.
Yeah.
It's just so bad. There was a game... What game was it? I can't remember. There was a game when someone picked up an Inferno Drake. Actually, it may have been one of the SKT games. I can't remember what... No, it wasn't SKT. Either way, there was 2 Inferno Drakes, first 2, and the entire game just snowballed from there. It was like 15 minutes and they had 16% bonus. You can't come back from that.
Yeah. It's gonna be... you know, it also makes me wonder why people aren't picking Nunu. Like, Nunu can eat that dragon for breakfast. And, you know, no Nunus. So, maybe I can hope... Maybe I'll hope one day on Spicy Meatballs we'll be talking about Nunu picks.
AP Nunu.
Yeah. But AP Nunu mid lane.
Oh, yeah.
Sit in the bush, empire him. So we're gonna move on to segment 4, where we're going to talk about our biggest disappointments. Disappointments? Yeah. We're gonna talk about that word. We're gonna talk about maybe a player, maybe a pick, maybe a team, maybe a match. Maybe something that really let you down this week. Something that you didn't like, and we'll start with Owen. Owen, what was your biggest disappointment from this week?
Remember when CLG got second place at MSI?
They did that?
I don't know if
they did that.
It's like their team was abducted and replaced with robots that are designed to destroy all hope in their fans. Like, the spinner has been upgraded. It's now get second place at MSI to instill false hope. Like, is Riot, like, behind the scenes writing some storyline? Like, what is the narrative here? Why is this happening? Like, I don't understand. And they haven't... It's not like the roster's changed drastically or anything. Like, they're doing the same stuff. Maybe it's just the meta. They haven't adapted well. I don't know what it is, but they have a couple of easier games coming in next week, so hopefully they'll be able to pull it up. But I think they're currently in a 4-way tie for 6th place. So I think
they're technically in 5th because... I don't know. Who's in 6th? It's Echo Fox, Liquid, CLG, and then someone else. So maybe not.
A lot of 1-3s.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just really...
So they're ahead of Liquid either way.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I don't understand how this happened.
Yeah, right. Joe, we're going to move on to you. What was your biggest disappointment from week 2?
Just Fnatic. Just Fnatic as a whole.
Oh,
so when I look at teams and I move throughout the season, I like to see improvement. So people are already hyping up Fnatic before the season because they got Yellow Star back. They're gonna look great.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Spring Split last year's Fnatic, where everything was very chaotic and not all that well refined.
Annihilating everything. I think they're 8-2 overall for each individual game, which is incredible, and they're 4-0 overall for the best of 3s. But like, where are they going to keep going? What's going to happen to them when they end up either, let's look at playoffs or let's look at, Worlds, if they do make it there? How are they going to hold up to tougher competition? Because we've seen LOD in the past just leave teams, and I obviously wasn't there. I don't know what happened. Does he crack under pressure? Has he just been getting a free ride? Well, we don't know yet. So I think it's really important to focus on this player and see what's going to happen in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
I think the Immortals game is really heavily based on how Seraph stacks up against Huni, though. If Seraph can go even or head against Huni, then they'll definitely win the game. Because Immortals is still the Huni show in a lot of ways. Pobelters look better, but...
Yeah.
So what do you think the match scorings are going to look like for LOD and Envy?
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, what do you think the scores are going to be for those two Envy games?
Oh, those two games. Well, they're definitely going to 2-0 Echo Fox.
Okay.
And I'm predicting a 2-1 into Immortals, but I usually predict things horribly wrong.
Okay.
It's like going into March Madness and you're like, oh yeah, this team, there's no way they lose, and then they're like,
oops.
Like, every time. Like
Right.
the fan favorite never wins.
Yeah.
So I'm hesitant to. I mean, I say like, oh yeah, they're going to 2-1 them.
TSM.
But that's actually not going to happen.
Yeah.
TSM. Oh boy. Yeah.
So, Joe, it is now your turn. What predictions are you going to make about the coming week?
So for Europe, the obvious choice is H2K versus G2. The two top teams. If either team takes a 2-0 win, then they pull ahead, easy first place. And I think that since both teams improved very clearly from weeks 1 to week 2, and if they continue to improve from week 2 to week 3, then I can see good things happening. I'm not sure if the new G2 top laner is going to work all that well. That might be a weakness that can be exploited because of all the adaptations to a new top lane meta. There's Aurelia being picked, some Jax. But if... I mean, G2's still just so stacked with talent. They have Perks, Niels, and Mithy, or Sven.
Oh god.
It'll be a good couple of games, I hope.
Yeah.
And their styles also are very contradictory still. H2K's always played a very heavy macro focus, and G2 is just run them down, skirmish heavy.
Right,
So
yeah.
it'll be a good game, or a good couple of games, I should say.
Yeah, I think I'll pay attention to that one. Did you have any others?
And North America, once again, it's going to be the obvious with C9 versus TSM. It's a huge rivalry. There's some interesting storylines there too, with Meteos coming back and playing against TSM, and when Meteos was with C9, they always beat TSM for them.
Yep.
So I guess it's another show of dominance. If TSM beats C9 as well as and they already beat Immortals, then there's really no doubt in my mind that TSM is the best team in the name.
Yeah.
If TSM loses to C9, then I can bring some questions, say, all right, who's really the best?
Right.
I also think if this might be the game that decides the starting support for Cloud9. If they win, and they win 2 games with Bunny Fufu instead of and they lose the game with Smoothie, for example,
Right.
then I think Bunny will be the one they start sticking with more.
Right.
Yeah, we saw last split. They tried running Bunny and then lost a game or two, and they just like panicked and threw High back in for the whole split. But I don't think that's an option for them anymore. He's pretty firmly on the Challenger Series roster.
I mean, Bunny Fufu's
so we'll
good.
see how he performs.
He's,
Oh yeah, he's great.
He's a mechanically incredible player, and
The issue I think was in the shot calling, right?
Yeah.
But now that they have Meteos back, and I think their new top laner, right? Impact.
yeah.
Yep.
Did I get that right? Yeah. The team's a bit different, and they're not. Like, I think earlier it was difficult for them because they swapped out one new player in here with Bunny Fufu, and they had everyone else the same except Meteos. Maybe I can't remember exactly what the roster was.
last split they took out High, and it was Jensen and Meteos.
Oh yeah, Jensen and
Yep.
Meteos. And the team was just so used to hearing High telling them what to do. Maybe, I mean, obviously he's not like micromanaging people. This isn't StarCraft, but
Yeah. Right.
just they weren't adjusted to it. And so far, Cloud9's been doing great having 2 supports. And I watched an interview with Sneaky, and he said it felt really natural for him to switch between them, and that he felt comfortable with both of them,
Yeah.
which is really great. So hopefully we'll see. Maybe Cloud9 won't pick a starting support. Maybe they'll just keep flipping them around.
Yeah.
It could be a great way to keep opponents on their toes. Not being able to get up a solid strat against you if you're constantly changing your support.
Right.
I looked at it a little bit, and so Smoothie has been playing Karma and Nami, and Bunny has been playing Bard and Braum, but Bard. Like, there's like 3 games as Bard rather, and the rest have been like Braum and Thresh. It's like half of his games have been Bard. So I guess they're gonna pick, depending. My guess is it would change based on their AD carry. They're gonna do a Sivir comp because Sivir Karma is just so good right now.
Yeah.
You pick Sivir, and then you pick Karma, and then you pick Olaf or Irelia or Trundle or whoever, and you just run at them.
Yeah.
Until they fall down.
Oopsie, I fell down.
And the other advantage they have there is they can switch out their players mid-series.
Yep.
Like if they lose game 1, they can switch that out. I think that's a huge advantage for any team that has players that can do that.
Do they lose a ban if they swap a player mid-series?
I don't remember.
It's if the player is not on your sub list, then yes.
Oh.
That's why Phoenix One lost a ban, because they had to bring in someone for their mid laner and put Slushie down at 80. That was a weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that didn't
So I think I'm gonna use this to move on to our final segment, which I entitled "Son, We Need to Talk." We're gonna talk about they've changed the format of the LCS. Obviously, we're no longer in best of ones anymore. We are in best of twos for Europe, and we're in best of threes for NA. Personally, I like the change of the format. I clearly think that, you know, over the course of best of twos and best of threes, a team can adapt their strategy and say, like, okay, this didn't work in the first game, so now we're going to adjust and move on to the second and the third game in general. I just think, like, it's just annoying for me as a viewer because, you know, these games take a very long time. Like, normally when we were watching TSM versus Cloud9 take 25 minutes, now it's taking 50 minutes or 75 minutes, you know, and we need to have, like, 2 streams going on at once, and now we have issues like we no longer get the countdown of Monte Cristo, and I'm upset because of it, because I always like watching the clap, the snaps, and then where you would look to the camera off and go like snap. Like, I love that. That was my favorite.
Monty, did you see the AMA?
Oh yeah,
Monty,
I did.
give me the clap.
Give me the clap. So Owen, what do you think of the change to the best of 2 and the best of 3?
I'm glad that it finally happened because
Yeah.
I watched a lot of LCK in previous seasons, and the best of 2 I always felt was the best format for like a league play where you've got like, oh, we got 10 weeks. Best of 2s are great because you get a lot of variety in the standings, because it really separates like winning 2-0 against someone and going 1-1 or going 0-2. Like, it gives this big like skill disparity where the difference between the low tier teams and the high tier teams are more easily represented. And I like best of 3s for any type of tournament or event like that, where you've got like MSI, because ties are kind of lame if you're at a tournament. Whereas in league play, it kind of just works out because you've got 10 weeks and everyone can kind of, you know, fill in the spots. I like finals being best of 5s because narratives are cool and everyone loves like just the potential for crazy comebacks and the suspense of it. And it prevents, like, I know season 3 Worlds, we just had like an hour long 2-0, like, oh, I came all the way out for this, like, it's over, you know. And it's not super fun. Although on that note, I guess a 3-0 would be even lamer.
Yeah, right.
But it's not always, obviously. And whatever Riot decides to go with in the future, whether they're going to put both into best of 3 or both into best of 2, it's a heck of a lot better than a best of 1.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. As far as 2 streams running at once, I don't really, like, it makes it hard for me because I can't watch both. Like, it's just too much, and it's weird to me that they do that, but it seems to be working well. I don't know how it'll impact viewership, but definitely really glad that they finally got rid of the best of 1.
Yeah. So, Joe, what do you think about the change to the formats?
I mean, overall, it's a net gain. I don't think there's too many people that watch League of Legends that are be like, yeah, no, I really miss best of ones. I miss watching Keen pull out Urgot and win a cheese game. There's no love lost there. So, but I don't like best of 2s as much as best of 3s. Because, so in the TSM Immortals game, we had a stomp from TSM and a stomp from Immortals, and in a best of 2, that would have been it. And then there would be no victor. They would just be like, well, which team's better? And we didn't get to see that. And actually, even the best of 3, I don't think we did, because Game 3 was something.
Game 3, it was League of Legends. That is certainly what I watched.
Spirits of Dignitas and infuse them for.
Clown Fiesta. Yep. Good old NA.
But when best of twos are better when they're teams that are distant in the standings. When they're close, I find that there's just something missing because, well, 3 good games of League of Legends are better than 2. And
Right.
when you get something like H2K versus G2 and they tie, well, which team is really better?
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
point, I
Yeah.
guess.
I do
But-
understand how the best of 2 can end up feeling kind of unfulfilling. If it's just like, oh, we're tied, bye, see you next
From
week.
a
Yes.
broadcast standpoint, though, best of 2 is way better because you know exactly, not exactly, but you know it's like this. It's gonna take about this time, done time.
Oh yeah, that is
Yeah.
very true. I hadn't considered that there's always the same number of games. Always.
Yeah.
So one of the guys at the desk, Mark Marks.
Mark Zimmerman. Yeah.
No, well, yeah, but no.
I don't
Liquid
know.
Marks. He does what is it? Blame Game.
Yeah, the blame game.
He was talking about it on Summoner's Insight. And he's just like, yeah, there's like the desk, and they have to watch 2 games at once, and you only get like 10-minute breaks. It's very chaotic for people on the desk. I think having the 2
Yeah.
streams going.
Yeah.
I do
And
not
even though
envy
it's no
those
big
men.
deal to me to miss like, let's say, well, this split because it's a mess. I'll say Giants and Vitality. I'm not gonna cry about our Unicorns of Love. They look terrible this year.
Yeah, what happened to them? That's unfortunate.
They lost their really good AD carry and their
Yeah.
okay mid laner.
Whoops. Yeah, as a viewer, it is very nice, especially if like there's a lot of times there'll be long delays between games, so you can just switch the stream over. Or if you don't care about the teams or it's a bad game, you can always just flip to the other stream, which is nice. But if you're the type of person that likes to sit down and watch 12 hours of LCS, you can't do that. Unless I guess you could just watch the VODs. From a
one of-
competing standpoint, it's also really good for teams because before with the LCS, you had to prepare constantly for your one game. Now you have more time to kind of get ready and be like, because you're playing the same amount of games, but it's just you'll have an off week or whatever, right? So you can kind of focus and be like, all right, we're gonna focus all of our effort into this series rather than constantly having to re-prepare your strategies.
Yeah.
There's also the playoff aspect, which is playoffs are played best of 3s or best of 5s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're preparing for playoffs when you do this, because best of 1s and best of 3s are very different situations. We've seen it before where teams will just choke in playoffs. because-
Immortals. What?
Immortals. Cough, 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 cough.
Listen, Top Lucian is a great idea. It apparently worked in scrims. I
We
don't know.
misinterpreted the meta.
My favorite thing is that apparently they were winning in scrims. So
Everyone's always winning in scrims, though.
No, the theory is that they just let Huni win with Lucian top, so he'd pick it during.
Okay,
I think
getting a
Remilia
little,
was even like,
freaky.
when she was talking with Hakuho after he became the Renegades and future Envy support. Like she was like, you have to continue my streak of undefeated support Malzahar in scrims. I was just like, what are these people even doing in scrims? Like,
Are they just like sandbagging?
Are they just like
What's
throwing
going on?
people through a loop? Like they're actually playing like, oh, we're playing Jarvan AD carry and Leona support. Like what? Like what are we actually doing in these games?
Just have some random person play it because someone slept in too long.
What is it? Dignitas also when they had what's his face? Oh my god. Cruiser the Bruiser. When they had Cruiser the Bruiser as their top laner, they changed all their names to Cruiser the Bruiser. So they'd be like, quickly attack Cruiser. Which one?
Bruiser's a nice guy, by the way. I've talked to him. Super nice guy.
Yeah. So with that, I think we can call it a show.
Do you want to give like rankings for teams, like where they fall in the overall?
Well, I guess you can go to NALC. You can go for all of esports for that. And look at ratings for stuff like that. I clearly think that TSM, C9, and Envy just deserve to be in the top ranks where they are. You know, Envy has had a little bit of an easy, couple of games, but I still think that TSM and Cloud9 are doing a very good job. I think Cloud9 are choking for some reason. I don't know what they're doing, and I think Immortals is exactly where they should be, because I think a lot of people just overvalued Immortals because just like how stupidly aggressive they were playing in the best of ones, and there was no adaptation over in future games. I totally think that like it's a Huni show, like you've said before, and Immortals, like everyone overvalues Wild Turtle. He keeps flashing forward, being super aggressive all the time. Like it's exactly where they should be. I don't have a lot to say about Phoenix One. I think I only saw them in one game. Echo Fox is doing exactly what I thought they'd be doing. I don't think having just Frog in there is going to help them.
They're doing nothing.
They're doing who?
The most passive team I've seen. Just, ugh.
Phoenix One?
Bro.
Or Echo Fox?
No, not Phoenix One, Echo Fox.
Oh, yeah.
They just roll over and die.
Yeah.
It's painful.
It's
oh, we'll let them have this turret. We'll get them next time. Oh, we'll let them have
Inferno Drake.
Oh, no, we don't need that.
It's very difficult when you end up in a position where you can't contest objectives because you don't want to. But if you just give them everything, you're definitely going to lose.
Yeah.
But if you fight, you're also going to lose. So it's kind of like this weird, like,
Catch-22.
You have all of these options, and none of them are good. So everyone's been in that position in a game where maybe you've like lost 3 inhibitors and you're trying to hold off, massive waves of super minions, or you're getting split pushed and you don't know how to beat it, and you're running through your head and you're trying to find that golden bullet that'll just win you the game, and there's no option that is gonna give you a clear advantage. You're like, this is kind of okay, this is bad, this is okay, and you just end up getting paralyzed. It's like decision paralysis. You have so many options available to you, and none of them are good.
Yeah.
So you do nothing, and it's often not the worst decision to do nothing, but it's never going to win you a game.
Right.
So we'll see how that pans out in the future. Maybe Echo Fox can kind of find their groove, or maybe they'll get some better matchups. Who knows?
I can't see them winning if they're going to give up early dragons, especially Inferno Drakes, which you can, because even if you pick a scaling comp, most champions I'd say aren't 16% better than other champions at the top of at top level. So it's not, you can't give up that much. You can't give up turrets. You can't let teams just snowball the game like that. It won't win your games as good as Froggen is, because Froggen's still a monster.
One champion might counter the other one. If the champion you counter is 16% more ability power than you do, well, you're probably going to die. Like even if you do well against them.
Drake RNG is strong.
Yeah, it really is.
Please stop giving up towers for or giving up Inferno Drake for a tower.
Yeah.
That 800 gold, not that good. Inferno Drake's pretty good.
Yeah. I think people need to stop undervaluing Cloud Drake. I think Cloud Drake is pretty sweet, especially with the Sivir Karma comps that are coming in. Can you imagine the amount of engage power you have with that out of combat movement speed? And everyone's like, oh, just skip it, whatever.
Well,
plus, if you kill it, you have a chance of spawning an Inferno Drake.
Well, you should definitely get it again, man. It's just like
it's always going to be a Cloud Drake if you just leave it there. It could be an Inferno Drake.
Spawning an Inferno Drake.
No,
that is the best thing.
So in Korea this week, like every game Doa casted it started with a Cloud Drake, and then it would be another Cloud Drake. It was absolutely marvelous.
Hey man, gotta go fast.
Yeah, gotta go fast.
Except for it does get you to mid lane to bot lane 0.5 seconds faster. So
you can move quicker, so you can farm faster, so you can get more gold, so you can kill more Cloud Drakes.
Yeah. Duh.
It's
Clearly.
about 400 AP, I want to say. 400 and some odd AP to make... Like, I'd say 500 to make one Inferno Drake equal to one tower for one person.
All right.
Because if we value AP at about 435 for 20... Or is it 25 for Antom? I can't remember anymore.
All right.
So yeah.
I think we've made our points pretty clear. I think we can call this a show finally this time, I swear. We're gonna go do a little sign off. I'm Alex Shinkari Erdenberger. This is Owen Airship Bishop, and this one is Joe Sismok Frazier. And this one. No, I'm trying. You don't see it, but I'm pointing to your box on the stream. Yeah.
How about this one?
I'm pointing this one and that one. I worked on this. I tried. So as always, the matches are going to start around for LCS are going to start around Thursday, around 12 Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Europe, and then 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for NA. Starting, I believe. Oh no, it starts at like 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for like the first couple of games at NA, and then that continues to Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that does it for today. Thanks to everyone for coming. Thanks to my guests for showing up and talking with me, so I don't look like a loser here talking by myself.
Well, I mean, you're always gonna look like a loser to me. So.
I don't know
okay.
whether to be happy about that or very upset. But make sure to follow us on Twitch. Get the little heart button down there. Make sure you click it. It's really cool. You'd be a cool dude if you do that. Make sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. And from all of us here at EGF, thanks everyone for watching. And I hope to see you all again next Monday, same time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So come join us for some more talking about League of Legends with my friends. Catch you guys later.